So I missed that. But I have a dear friend, he's still alive, he's in his 80s now, his name is Will Nicholson. And he was the number 2 guy when Goody Ingram was the chairman of Augusta National. And Will was married to a lovely, elderly, sophisticated woman. And they were from Denver, so we wind up on the plane coming down here periodically. And I said to him, if your wife would ever like to come up and spend some time with us on the tower, we'd love to have her. I said this in 2000. And she grew older and the challenge was getting bigger. And during his last year, he said she'd like to come up to that. Well, making sure that an 81-year-old woman is safe climbing up that tower is a challenge. But we got her up there and then she wanted to stay. And now the action is getting thick and that tower shakes. So my cameraman is an irritated man anyway. And when she started to move, say she wanted to come down, he got really irritated. And we had to put someone below her on the tower, put her on her stomach essentially, get her legs over the side, and he was there to make sure that she had short heels on, to make sure that her legs connected with the rungs, and then make sure that she didn't lose her grasp. So we had another guy in front of her that she could grab him, and it took us 35 minutes to get her down on the ground. In the meanwhile, Tiger's coming through. Anyway, I digress.
Wow. Well, from that, let's go back to the origins and how you ended up in this line of work anyway. Because for people who don't know, you're the son of a minister,
Right.
and you went to the seminary, right? So a lot of people assumed what got you in the other direction.
Well, I'll give you a quick career path, and I would not recommend this for anybody, okay? So don't do what I did. I have a degree in sociology from Texas Lutheran University with a minor in history. And I had no clear path in my mind when I graduated. I was not a good athlete, but I learned that at an early age, so I compensated. And I wrote for the high school newspaper, wrote a sports column. I wrote for the college newspaper, a sports column. I did a lot of public address work, both in high school at the basketball games and in college at our football and basketball games. And I was in Seguin, Texas. It's a town of about 30,000, 30 miles to the east of San Antonio. And we had a small town radio station, KWED, 1580 on the dial, sun up to sundown. And they would periodically hire students from the college. So I thought, I really would like to do that. So my junior year, I auditioned for essentially a Sunday disc jockey job. A Saturday, you put the station on the air and we had farm reports and ag reports and news reports and churches and all that sort of thing. And then at sundown, you go out and take the transmitter off the air. Well, I auditioned for the job and didn't get it. I lost it. A guy named Larry Bramer, who last I heard was still active in the Mennonite church in Wisconsin. And I've had occasion, the fellow who turned me down is still living. His name is Stan McKenzie, and I've had occasion to remind him periodically that he thought I had no future in this business. But at the time, in fairness, I didn't intend to go into sports broadcasting. I was a DJ. And because I had no idea what I really wanted to do with my life, and my dad was a minister in the Lutheran church, and I grew up in that kind of environment, I found it very comforting. I thought I'd just try it for a year and see if maybe that was something I wanted to do. So I enrolled in the Lutheran School of Theology in Rock Island, Illinois. It's a part of the Augustana College campus. And it was a school from which my dad was ordained on D-Day in 1944. And so I enrolled, and in order to help put myself through school, I got a summertime disc jockey job at KROS in Clinton, Iowa, 30 miles north of the Quad Cities. And this was a big time operation. This was from sun up until midnight. And I worked the 4 to 12 shift, Monday through Friday. And I lived in the YMCA across the street for $8.50 a week. Thank you very much. The shower is at the end of the hall. It was one of those it's a shame Nancy and I never had any kids, because I could do the old thing about, you don't know what it was like when I was a kid. And I'll probably tell you a little more about this than you ever wanted to know, but it's kind of interesting. Right before school started, I was hired by WOC in Davenport, and it's a sister station to WHO in Des Moines. And this is the WHO is where President Reagan worked when he was a college student. They had a picture of Reagan in the control room. So I was called in for the interview, and this is where truth in advertising is going to come out. I've got a brother named Dan, a brother named Tom, a brother named David, and a sister named Sharon. My full legal name is Merton Laverne Lundquist Jr. My dad went by Merton. I went by Laverne all through junior high, high school, and college. Now, you guys are too young, but there was a famous song by Johnny Cash called A Boy Named Sue. That was me, a boy named Laverne. So I go in for the interview with this guy named Bob Gifford, and he said, okay, I want to hire you. You're going to work 9 to midnight, but you're not going on my radio station calling yourself Laverne. So he had to stay, he wanted me, Jerry Lund. And I said, I'm not going to do that to my parents. I'm just not. So we compromised, and I dropped the LA, and that's how Laverne became Verne. But to the day she died 8 years ago, my mother would never call me anything but Laverne. And all my high school classmates, we lived in Steamboat Springs. Somebody would come through town. Nancy would pick up, is Laverne there? She said, it's one of your college classmates, because they all still do it. Finally, at the age of 40, when my dad was still living, I had a long father-son talk with him. And I said, Dad, David, Dan, Tom, Sharon, Merton Laverne? What were you thinking? He said, it's a very good name. So I thought, well, yeah, but you didn't have to live with it. Anyway, I spent 1 year in theological school. I have 6 hours of Greek. I have 3 hours of eschatology, the study of the last things. I've got 3 hours of homiletics, which is the art of preaching. And none of those have been particularly helpful in a sports broadcaster's life. But if I ever have a Greek figure skater, I can handle it. So I knew 6 months in that was not for me. And I got homesick, and I decided to film. I was going to stay the course. So I got 18 hours, I think, credits for that 1 year in theological school. But I went home. I landed a summer replacement job at KTBC in Austin, Texas. It was owned by Mrs. Johnson and President Johnson. I started out as a summer replacement announcer with no clear-cut idea. I was 23. What am I going to do? I knew I didn't want to go back to school. I thought about the Peace Corps, talked about going to Nepal. I decided that was kind of a lonely mission. And then in August of that summer, the sports job opened up. We were the only station in town. And the guy that I'd grown up watching do sports took a job in Houston, and there was early August. I went to the program director, and I said, I'd like to audition for it. The conditions were so primitive, guys, and we'll talk about that, how things have changed. We had no color cameras. It was all black and white. There was no videotape. We did everything that we tried to preserve was done on optical sound black and white film through a 16 millimeter camera. So they watched me cut an audition, 10 minutes, I guess, in the news studio, and the news director called me in. He said, it wasn't bad. Here's my deal. I'll answer your phone later. No. I'll make you a deal. I don't think you're ready to do Monday through Friday. If you're okay with this, we'll put you on as a disc jockey, as Verne Lundquist, from 5 to 9. And then you'll do the weekend sports. Well, I was 23, single, living with my mother and dad. And I thought, that'd be, and they hired another guy, and he didn't work out. So 4 months later, they offered me the full-time job. So then, and this could go on until tomorrow morning. I was in Austin for 3 years. I took a job in news, just thought, I'm not so sure about this.
Okay.
So I became a news anchor at the NBC affiliate in San Antonio. And I did that for 1 year and realized again early on that I'd rather be in sports.
But wasn't that convinced you?
I'll tell you exactly what convinced me.
Okay.
We were an NBC affiliate, and I know you've read about the 6-Day War. You didn't live it, but I did. And we didn't know if the world was going to end, when the Egyptians and the Israelis fought. And we were an NBC affiliate. We had Huntley Brinkley on the air. And our guys at that particular news station did not take Huntley Brinkley. By then, 3 years into my career, we had videotape, right? And we didn't take it. And I was astounded that we would not take NBC News. But the motto of the station, and it happens way too often, was the old thing about if it bleeds, it leads. And I can remember the day that I said, I got to get out of here. We had a pickup collision, head-on pickup collision 80 miles south of San Antonio, and 7 people were killed. And we sent a news crew down there, and we did 4 minutes of video, film, of bodies flying everywhere. And I thought, if they're no more serious than this, I want to get out of here. So I left after 11 months, and magic happened. A job that I always wanted in Dallas opened up. It was the 3rd time I had applied for it. Get ready for some rejection in your life. I had been turned down twice. And then the fellow who beat me out for the job, he's one of the heroes in my life professionally. His name was David Lane. He called me and he said, Jeannie and I just discovered we're pregnant. It's our first child. I don't want to be going home to an infant and leaving her to care for the infant till 11:30 at night. So I'm going to get out of sports. I'm going to go into sales. He did. He later became my boss and became very important in my life. But David recommended me for the job. And then, you get to a large market like Dallas or Atlanta. And if you're lucky and you have a little bit of talent, opportunities will open up for you. And in kind of quick succession, I was offered the pre and post game show on the Cowboys radio network. And they were the Cowboys, but this was 67. So, and then 2 years later, the sports director, Blackie Sherrod, who had done color, said, I'm through with this. They moved me to the color job. And then the biggest thing that happened for me professionally came in 72. I'd been in Dallas for 5 years. I was established. We had a great news organization. We were an ABC affiliate, and we dominated the market. And I flew to Los Angeles, and I was offered a 5-year contract to become the sports director of KNXT, the CBS affiliate in LA. And I verbally accepted. I got swept up in it. My job interview took place at the Bel Air Country Club. And I looked over in the corner, and Jack Benny and Groucho Marx were having lunch. And I thought, I could get used to this.
Yeah.
So I verbally accepted the job and flew back to Dallas, hopped on the Cowboy charter going to New Orleans for Super Bowl VI. And I told Tex Schramm, the general manager, about my decision to leave Dallas. And he said, have you signed anything? And I said, no. He said, don't. I want to have lunch with you when we get back after this game is over. And I've got some ideas. And his big idea was that the Texas Rangers were about to become reality. The Washington Senators, the baseball franchise, was moving. The fellow with whom I had shared the broadcast booth, who's now 92 years old, living in retirement in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I heard from him 2 weeks ago. His name was Bill Mercer. And Bill had been the play-by-play to my color. And he told Tex he had been offered the baseball job. He always wanted to be a Major League Baseball job. So the job opened up, the play-by-play job. And Tex said during this lunch, if you go to LA, what do you want to do in 10 years? And I said, I'd love to be a network play-by-play guy. He said, well, if you go to LA, you got no shot. Because they're hiring you for a studio guy. And perhaps you've heard of Ben Scully and Dick Enberg and Chick Hearn. and there are 15 guys behind them, probably as good, who are waiting. But if you'll stay in Dallas, I'll give you the Cowboy radio play job. And if you can do it, the networks will find you because we're going to be pretty good. And so I went to 5 Super Bowls with them, and the network found me. And I did my first network telecast 2 years later, September 18th, 74. I'm smiling because I told this story last night. It was Ohio University at Kent State. And the head coach was Don James, and he had 2 assistants on his staff, graduate assistants. One of whom was Gary Pinkel, who wound up at Missouri. The other guy was some guy named Saban, and I'm not sure whether it happened to him. And that's the first time I ever met Nick. Well, I say I met him. Anyway, so that's how I got the network shot. And then, I mean, be prepared for some rough edges. I was 8 years at ABC, and I could never crack the inner circle. I just
Inner circle being who?
the inner circle being Jim McKay, Howard Cosell, Frank Gifford, Keith Jackson, most importantly, in my world of college football. Just to give you an example, when you know you're not on the fast track, I was there 2 years when the announcing lineup was made for the Innsbruck Olympics, and I was not included. And I thought, okay, I'm disappointed, but we got another one in 4 years. When Lake Placid came along, the Miracle on Ice, Do You Believe in Miracles? When Lake Placid, I again was not invited. I replaced Chris Schenkel on a professional bowling show in Peoria, Illinois. That's when you kind of know, maybe they don't think as highly of you as you think of yourself.
You had done bowling before, though.
Bowling for dollars, of course.
For dollars.
So I was hoping you wouldn't bring that up. That's another story. But I point this out, and then I'll wrap this whole lengthy narrative up. I want to tell you about why Dave Lane is the greatest guy in the world. And we lost him. He died at 53 of a brain tumor back in the 90s. But David, just to give you context, is the fellow who recommended that I take his place after he had beaten me out for the job. He then became my boss. So I got that dreaded phone call from ABC in January of '82. We're moving in a different direction. We're not going to renew your contract. I was 42 years old, and I thought, what I wanted to do all my life was over. And I got a call from CBS Sports, and they were going back into college football. Would I be interested? And sure, give me 25 weeks. Well, the offer I got from CBS was for 6 football games and 2 basketball games. Now I'm working at an ABC affiliate, and this is CBS offering me 8 events for the year. And I'll condense this, but I went into Dave Lane, my boss, and as I said, we were really dominant. I mean, in the later '80s, among the people we had were Scott Pelley, Bill O'Reilly, Peter Van Zandt with 48 Hours, Paul Zahn, Lisa Gibbons. We were loaded as a local newscast. And because of that strength, and because of my identity in town as the cowboy guy, I probably had a little push that some other guys might not have. But I went in to see David and I said, here's their offer. It's essentially 8 events. Can you see any way clear? And I had never hidden from him what my long-range goal was. Is there any way that you can see your way clear to have me continue to work here and then also appear on CBS on the weekends? He said, I'll call you tomorrow. I went in and said, okay, here's the deal. You've got to resign as a staff employee. I can't have you as a staff employee working for CBS. So you've got to become an independent contractor. And that means you've got to find your own health benefits, and your own retirement, which I could do because I was, as we all are, members of SAG-AFTRA. And so my health benefits and my ultimate retirement was all tied up in that. So I said, yes. He said, okay, if you're willing to do that, I will pay you on the days that you appear on the air, but the rest of the time you're on your own. That was in July of '82. And so I began doing college football while working for CBS, while working for an ABC affiliate. And it was only Dave's generosity of spirit, his understanding of where I was in my professional life, his willingness to take a chance, and not so coincidentally, it was my willingness to take a risk. You know, I thought I could do this, and so I stepped off the edge with Dave's help. He had a lifeboat underneath, but I had to step off the edge, and things just worked out well. And if it comes up, I'll tell you the moment I know that everything changed. But that fall of '82, all of a sudden on December 1st, I get a call from the office in New York, and they said, "You've done golf, haven't you?" And I said, "Yeah, I did some golf at ABC." "Well, good. Frank Shirkinian, our senior producer of golf, likes your work and would like to try you on the golf telecast. And here are your initial 5 assignments. Pebble Beach, hello.
Yeah.
The Memorial, the Byron Nelson, the Colonial, and Augusta. So I worked Augusta for the first time in '83. And those 5 golf tournaments evolved into 17 golf tournaments, and then a full-time offer game. But I was 43 years old when I got my first. So don't ever give up on your dream, but just, there's gonna be a few hiccups, and just always be prepared. Now, that was a sermon I didn't intend to give.
No, but I'm sure there are some people who wanted to hear it. We're gonna get some of your questions in a minute, but I'm gonna let you go ahead and start talking about something else. You came along, I remember when I came along, the newsrooms, these loud places with the teletype machines and the they have no idea what this stuff is like, because they got everything on something like this. And while the application changes, dramatically, but some of the fundamentals remain the same. You did radio. Talk about the importance of that and what that allows you to do. I think everybody ought to do a little radio. Also about the importance of doing that using your voice.
Well, I think those of us who've done both will always relish the days we spent on radio, if for no other reason but that you control a little bit more of the on-the-air product. In television, you are very much at the whim, and I use that word with some degree of advisement, what the camera is showing and what the elements are that the producer insists on getting into the broadcast. Some of them sponsored elements that must, in radio, you can pretty much take the broadcast, whether it's baseball, golf, football, basketball, you can take it in the direction you like. And essentially, by the way, if you aspire to do what I'm lucky enough to do for a living, I've done it now for 53 years. That's frightening.
Wow.
But if you aspire to do what I'm lucky enough to do, learn how to tell a story. More than anything else, yes, it's play-by-play. And so you've got to keep the viewer or the listener involved. You've got to be much more descriptive in radio, and I think that's helpful long-term. I used to, when I did the Cowboys, I would tape record every game on a cassette tape recorder that I would have attached to my boom mic, and my partners got used to me reaching down out of commercial, Sam, and I would push record, and then it would start up, and I'd have cassettes. And I used to listen to them all the time because I wanted to make sure that I was being properly descriptive. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't overusing the same adjectives, the same verbs, no reliance on cute, and I would check it. Now, I can walk away from the telecast after all these years, and you don't need to tell me if it was good, and you certainly don't need to tell me if it's bad, and we all have the bad. All of us have. I like to say that network play-by-play now for 42 years. I have never, ever gone through a telecast without making a mistake. And in this age of social media, I'm sometimes reminded of that. Woo! But you gotta get used to it. I mean, Tony Barnhart and I were on the colloquium last night, and Tony said, you've got to adapt to change. I'm a little more resistant to it than he is. But to your point about radio, radio is a discipline that allows you to be creative. Television, you're much more reliant. You can't be talking about what the viewer can't see. And at the same, it'll drive the viewer crazy. But at the same time, you don't want to state the obvious and tell him what you see. So Cherkinian, who was a very important figure in my life, said, you're a headline writer. Well, we're more than that. But I got his point. And that was compliment what we're seeing in the screen. But I hope all of you get a chance to do radio. I am not a sports talk show guy. Especially if there are two hosts, I don't want to hear them screaming at each other. And then, oh, by the way, what do you have to say? It happens way too often. But I enjoy literate sports talk, and there's some of that.
There is. There's one who ran out some questions. Talk more about Frank Cherkinian. I worked with the work of Augusta at the same time that Verne was there with, and I think the crew that you guys had assembled was just amazing. But I remember hearing him saying what you just echoed. People can see it, and not to state the obvious. He described the Augusta backdrop as like a stage, and the golfers were players, and it was theater. And he loved what you did, and that Summerall, I guess, because you guys could say the most with fewest words. Talk a little bit about timing. When we think about the call, we celebrated 30 years. It was just 3 words, but it summed up everything. Talk to them about, the time. I don't know if you think, well, this would be a crucial moment. Let me think of something special to say right now.
What does yourself you do?
Where does it come from?
Well, I'd like to add to Sam's question by letting you know about the first time I met Frank Cherkinian. We lost him about 4 or 5 years ago. He was about yay tall. He was Armenian American. He was a dandy. He always dressed in a cashmere sports coat, nice slacks, Gucci loafers. He always had a thing in his pocket, and he had a big head of curly hair. He was also the most profane human being I've ever been around in my life. So here's how I met him. I get this call on December 1st of '82. Frank likes your work. He would like for you to be a part of our team. But before we throw you into the pond at Pebble Beach, we would like for you to work the Phoenix Open. So Nancy and I go out to Phoenix on a Wednesday. We didn't have cable in those days. I went out early so I could be introduced to him. So I walked into the compound and asked the receptionist where Frank Cherkinian might be. She said, he's back at that office behind the closed door. It was a temporary cabin trailer. So I walked, knocked on the door. Yeah, come on in. That's him. And I steeled myself and walked in. I said, Frank, I'm Verne Lundquist. He said, I know who the heck you are. Who do you think effing hired you? Okay. Sit down. I got 3 rules, and if you'll follow them, you're going to get along fine. Okay. Number 1, I don't ever want to hear you say your name on television. Nobody really cares who you are. When it's appropriate, Pat Summerall will throw it out to you at the 16th hole by introducing you. And after that, you're just a member of the team. Okay, no names. Number 2, whatever brilliant addition you have to make to the editorial content of this production, you damn well better make the story complete before the golfer swings the club back. No talking over shots. And then when the ball's in the air, don't you dare. Don't call it in the air. You're going to be wrong 80% of the time. Wait till the ball lands, then tell me what's the result. Okay, no name, complete. And he said, number 3, and most important, don't state the obvious. We've got 65 technicians out here with cameras and microphones. We got 10 more back in the trucks. They're editing all this stuff and videotaping it. If a guy hits a 3-foot putt and it goes in. Don't you dare say he made it. Okay. Now comes Saturday, my first time ever doing golf on CBS with the Phoenix Open. I'm at 16. Rex Caldwell's in the middle of the fairway. Pat throws it out to me with an introduction. Welcome to the team. It was nice and warm. And I turned around and I said, here's Rex Caldwell. He's 3 off the lead, 155 yards, 7-iron. The hole was cut down right. Shut up. He hit the shot. He was 20 feet beyond. I didn't talk. I said, well, he's 20 feet away. He's got a little left to right break, but if he makes it, he's only going to be 2 back. We go away. No name, not over the shot. So now we come back. Here's Rex Caldwell for birdie, 20 feet left to right break. He leaves it about 2.5 feet short. I said, buddy, he can make his par. He'll be 3 back, but he's still got 2 holes to play. We come back. And then you go into the announcer's voice, right? Here's Rex Caldwell. Now this is for par. If he makes it, he'll be 3 back. It's got a little left to right break. He hits it. He never touched the hole. To which I said, oh my God, he missed it. And Cherkinian pushes down what we call the all key. And that means every announcer can hear it. And he said, you stupid Scandinavian SOB. If I tell you not to say he made it, and you not deduce on your own, you don't want to tell me he missed it. Well, I never did it again. I never, ever did it again. And then the second week we were at Pebble, and Frank said, I was at 15 at Pebble, and we were going to the airport. I was going with Pat Summerall, and just the 2 of us. And he said, Cherkinian really likes your work. He said, I think you're going to get some more opportunities. Well, those 5 events became 17 events. And then shortly thereafter came the offer of full-time. So that was the most important thing for me, was getting accepted by the golf crew. And with the exception of the 2 years I mentioned, I've done every Augusta since.
For you, Frank Cherkinian, if you watch the movie Tin Cup,
Oh my God.
he's in that movie. You see him when they go to they show the control room and he's in there. So the guy you just described, next time you see the movie, watch for him. That's Frank Cherkinian.
Or you can watch Happy Gilmore. I wouldn't mind that.
Got a question?
Sure, Matt in Texas.
Yeah, Matt.
I'm on a radio show now and also in this broadcast, and I was wondering, what are some things you can do to develop your sort of on-air style and distinguish yourself from other broadcasters? Read, and then read some more. Learn to write. I don't think there's enough emphasis placed on the role of proper writing and proper grammar in what we do. I wouldn't worry so much about adopting a style as I would being yourself. There's an amazing thing I find that comes through. There's something about this little camera and the person sitting in front of it that allows the people at home to get a sense of the essence of whoever it is that is on the air. And I think the same thing is in radio shows as well. It's been my experience that if you think that someone is going to become, when you meet them, if you do, excuse me, I'm sorry, will be a little bit on the arrogant side. Chances are they are. It just happens. So I've never developed a style. I've tried to be with you guys or at a dinner party or on the golf course as I am at home. I think if you try too hard to get a persona, and I will say this, I'll write out, I mean, when I grew up in this business, it's changed so much. I mean, it's just extraordinary. But I grew up in the 3 network universe. So if you wanted to become a network play-by-play guy, you had CBS, NBC, or ABC. We had public broadcasting, but then along came this behemoth called ESPN. I'll tell you a quick story. In 1979, I'm with the Cowboys, we're in Los Angeles, we're at Pete Rozelle, the commissioner's party the night before the championship game between the Cowboys and the Rams. And it's, Coke time, very nice event. And I was introduced to a man who said, I'm senior vice president of Getty Oil. And we have a chance for $15 million to buy this thing called ESPN. It's an all sports network. What would you think? And I said, why would you throw your money down a hole like that? I've never been hired by ESPN. That might have something to do with it. But I do think this, so many people your age, young men, young women, with your whole lives in front of you. I used to tell kids, okay, you're going to start in Wichita. And I'm not talking Wichita, Kansas. I'm talking Wichita Falls, Texas. And most of us took that route. Well, now, I hear it all the time. How do I become a sports anchor on ESPN? And that's the aspiration for so many guys. See, I get choked up talking about it. I think they've been terrific for the industry of sports. But they've developed some on-the-air characters. I'll say it, Stephen Smith and Skip Bayless. I don't get it. I've known Skip Bayless since 1981, when he was a 26-year-old columnist in Dallas with both the Times Herald and the Morning News. But that's the culture in many ways. I'm going way beyond the purpose of your question, but it gives me a chance to vent too. No, I just be yourself. Be true to who you are, and let that come across. I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you.
Gonna take some more questions, but I gotta ask you first. You are at the University of Georgia, and of course we are gonna talk a little SEC Saturday. Talk about your preparation for the week and how that has changed over the years. I know you used to get this big folder full of stuff to go through. I guess you don't get that anymore.
We still do.
You still get
We
that?
still do, yes.
That's about your preparation for
Well,
it.
it becomes kind of superfluous. It's there is, I think, not among you guys, because you understand what you're about to get into, unless I can stop you. But there is a perception. I had it happen to me at Augusta. Son of a gun, you got to work the NCAA basketball tournament. Now you get to spend all this time at Augusta. How do I get one of them jobs? Well, you work your butt off. Is how you do. And that, a lot of that involves the weekly preparation. Just to give you a contrast between what it was like when I started, we didn't even have fax machines. And I remember getting the first assignment, Ohio University at Kent State, and I was on the phone with the sports information director and the legal pad, because FedEx, I don't think FedEx even existed yet, not in '74. And he was giving me number, name, height, weight, year in college. And I did that for every player on both squads. It took about 3 hours, and wrote them down. And then he had to give me the depth chart. I had to write it out and you memorize it. Well, now, I mean, I take Sunday off and we travel back to home. I do spend 2 months of the year now in Atlanta just for access to SEC games. But it's an ongoing process. Read some more. Gary Danielson is analyzing the tactics of the two teams. I'm looking for any kind of a hook into the players who are going to play. I think one of our roles as broadcasters is to give the viewing audience a reason to root. Why should I care about this guy? Why shouldn't I care about this guy? Tony Barnhart said yesterday, the means of distribution have changed, but the essence of what we do has not. And so the preparation for me begins Monday morning. I keep continuous stacks, and I just go online and I print stuff. And you think the internet has made it so much easier, and the information is so much more accessible. But I'm a regular viewer to websites. I'm sorry. I'm a regular viewer of this inappropriately named website called Awful Announcing. I give anything that I think they're good. I think they've changed their purpose in the last 4 or 5 years. But God, what a name for a website. Oh, and they used to, their whole purpose when they started was to pick little bits out of the air and print them. I mean, the worst thing, I'm going sideways here, but when they used to do the Pam Ward Chronicles, I wanted to call them. Pam Ward is a very bright young lady who was trying to break in as a woman play-by-play announcer. It's a tough deal. Doris Burke, I think, is the best we've got. But, and Pam was doing them 3 or 4 or 5 games on Saturday, and these yahoos would sit home and pick out something she'd said and write it in, and then every Monday he would read the Pam Ward Chronicles. And it would be essentially the 10 stupidest things said by sports broadcasters over the weekend. Give me a break. And they didn't, So I had my name in there. Every time I said something stupid, I knew I was going to read about it. And it happened way too often. But to the preparation, I have a spotting chart that is this. I wish I brought one along. It's about this wide, this tall. And up here, I've got the Georgia defense. And down here, I've got the Tennessee offense, 3D. Names and numbers. I remember what I used to do. Well, I have a young man now who does it on the computer for me. And he sends me on email the computerized, colorized depth charts. It takes me longer to cut them out and stick them on than it does to write them out. And then you flip it over, and on the other side, Georgia's offense, Tennessee's defense. And I write little notes all over that. I keep a legal tablet. I was telling Lauren Smith last night. I start writing on the legal tablet, probably Monday afternoon, little things that may or may not be significant that I want to get in. All of this from reading or talking to the players and coaches. And that legal tablet grows in length. And I read it. I can tell you, I read it every hour. Now, I'll read it a couple times during the week. And then when we get to location, if we're coming to Athens, I will read all the notes on that legal tablet on Friday. And the last minute I will read, and then I would put the legal tablet over here. And you hope that you've absorbed all of those things and that they will come out naturally in the course of the broadcast. The first NFL telecast I did at CBS was with Terry Bradshaw. I was Terry's partner for 4 unforgettable years. And the very first time, he sweat bullets over it. We were doing a game in Los Angeles. And he prepared assiduously. I mean, he really, and then he only got 20% of it into the game. He was so frustrated. Well, look at all these notes, Bubba. I said, well, Bubba, that happens. It's got to be germane to the moment. There's nothing to come in. Memorizing. I'm known as the loud talker of the Yampa Valley Core Trail. I go for walks. We live in this beautiful, beautiful place in Northwest Colorado. Steamboat Springs, it's a town of 12,000. If you want to hurry out there, the ski area is open for another 5 days. But we have a beautiful river that comes through town and a trail to walk. And I will walk with my depth chart, and that's where I memorize. And I'll talk out loud. That's it. And that's just my way of memorizing the depth chart. So we each find our own way, but it's ongoing from Monday on. The perception that you can show up and just wing it, not going to happen.
You mentioned a 3-hour phone call at SID. That was before cell phones. Not going to ask them to pay for that.
Oh, I did on the company.
You guys missed that, a 3-hour long distance phone call.